And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show, Wednesday, October 8th. We got another real MLB slate for today. Wasn't sure we were going to get this one. Shout out to the Yankees yesterday for saving their season and for getting us to a 4-game slate. We got a real one. 8 teams playing today. So the strategy show has been resuscitated for today so that we could talk a little basketball or a little bit of baseball. I actually wanted to put together a video yesterday. Ran out of time a little bit in the morning. Puppy got fixed on Monday, and I did not get the sleep that I was looking for Monday into Tuesday. So that ended up not happening. But we're here now. Lots to break down as well. We can hang out, have some fun. There's an NFL show either finishing up right now or they just finished up. You don't want to miss that. So make sure you're subscribing on YouTube because NFL content is every day. It's not going anywhere, folks. You don't want to miss it. Steven Leibowitz says, is this the NBA exhibition slate? No, it is not. I don't mess with preseason. That's not my scene. I mess with the NBA. Regular season, that is. Where is that set up? But I have been working on it. Steven, you may or may not be looking at the screen right now. Seeing my web app and projections. Right now for the Boston Celtics. Sorry, Jason Tatum, you're in the injured section. Straight zeros. But today is a baseball show, folks. Malcolm McConnell. Just when we thought we were all going our separate ways, we all reunite. What a time to be alive. I completely agree. So let's talk baseball, folks. We're here. We got time. Let's dig into what we think we see. It's a pretty easy thing to talk about right out of the gate. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 9K in LA, 3.7 run implied total, essentially the lowest. Cubs Brewers is a little lower. 56% top 2 odds, 20 percentage points higher than Cam Schlittler. He is also the number 1 value option. He is also the highest owned option at 72% ownership. So I'm going to hop over to OddsShopper just to show you guys why this is happening. And then we can have a discussion of whether or not we like it. First things first, outs prop on Yamamoto. 17.5 juice to the over. For reference of everybody else that's showing up with outs props. 12, 10, 12, 12, 14, 9, 18 for Yamamoto. He's projected to go and pick up like 6 more outs than anybody else. Really difficult to try to dodge that. So, as I'm looking at it, obviously the park is scary. Yeah, it's never going to be a good time to pitch in LA. Just because it's just a bandbox. But he's good. And yet he's got a really tough matchup, or at least tough to me. You know, if we're talking about Yamamoto, like obviously he's had exceptional success this season. 29% K rate to both hands, no real power given up. Lefties just don't even touch him. So do you focus on, you know, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, who are big time lefties? But at the same time, that's sort of what Yamamoto limits to a degree. So then is the question, like, do you want Real Muto and Castellanos and Alec Boehm? like, I don't love either side of it, but there's just so much power potential. I don't see getting away from Yamamoto all that much because of the expected depth. However, 72% ownership is still quite a bit. And if he's not one of the top two pitchers, like 28% of the lineups then don't have him. I'm okay with being lighter on Yamamoto, but like I think 60% is sort of the floor. Do I have? Give me 1 second. Where did? Ooh, can I? There. No, I pull this tab into a different workbook. How the hell do I do that? Screw it. All right, let's run some sims so I can show you what the Yamamoto exposures look like, because I think that's going to be important. So I'm just going to run a 5,000 lineup pool and get this information in here. Because I think the more interesting question is going to be what comes out of the sims and what are we getting to in that, like, Suarez, Miller, Tyon, Priester group. Because Schlittler seems like a pretty clear number 2, and we'll talk about him in a second. But after that, it's this Suarez, Miller, Tyon, Priester. We'll have an extended conversation about Philly here. But that's where it gets tricky. Holy hell, why is that coffee so hot? That's hotter than the first cup I had. How is that possible? Oh, I wish I had a piece of ice to put in it. That is going to be legitimately unpleasant for the rest of this show. All right, sims are just about done. Do you guys have any leans? Because I assume we're all on the same page that we see Yamamoto being the best option. But, like, who do you guys like at SP2? You trying to get weird with, like, Bryce Miller or Tyon? I can't imagine anybody's about to make a case for Louis Varland. Kidding. All right, sim results. So, I'm just going to take the top 150. Humboldt. Love to see it, man. Took down the 333 the other night for 13,500. Sims are great. It's great to see Humboldt. All right, top 150 lineups. We look at the pitching exposures. You'll see right away, Yamamoto at the top, showed up in 80% of the top 150. But I think the other important items to look at are 40% pool ownership for Cam Schlittler, 62% exposure. So big stand on Schlittler, and then 14% projected ownership for Suarez. He's in 39. And I think he's the sort of more interesting thing to talk about from a contest perspective. I think we know what we're getting out of Schlittler. Obviously, his last start was crazy. Just totally crazy. What we get out of him today, probably feels a little bit different, but I think he is the second best option. We need to talk about the Phils. So, we're going to get Suarez in after Nola. Okay? So let's, theoretically here. We're going to get Aaron Nola out of the gate. I'm going to be honest. I don't really know why. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Actually, can I ask you guys this? Why is Aaron Nola starting and then turning over to Suarez? Why wouldn't you want Suarez to start? What am I missing here? Because I don't understand. But the question really here is, we've got Aaron Nola props out there. For example, his outs prop is sitting at 8.5. His strikeout prop is 2.5, juice to the over. If we're looking at outs props like this for Nola, I can't go to Suarez like that. Like, if the expectation is 8.5 outs for Nola, man, you got to get awfully specific for what you get out of Suarez. What if the game's over? Does he even come in? What if Nola gets blasted? Does he even come in? But like, in this matchup, why would you start a righty against the two lefties at the top of the lineup instead of starting the lefty against those guys? When you want to go lefty on Ohtani right out of the gate, why would you want to give him Nola? I don't know. But what this leads me to see is that, like, I don't want Ranger Suarez. Would you play Nola or Suarez in cash? No, you would. I mean, you literally cannot play Ranger Suarez in cash. That's insane. But no, no. The only cash option is Yamamoto Schlittler. There is no other conversation here. But like, I don't want Suarez. We have no idea how long he's going to pitch. We don't even know if he's going to be the guy. Like, Aaron Nola can just pitch more than him. He doesn't have to throw at all, depending on how that game goes. To me, I want essentially nothing from Ranger Suarez unless we get new information or we see these Aaron Nola props get pulled. But if he's going to have an 8.5 outs prop just out there today, no chance I'm taking a shot on Suarez. So let's say I negative boost Suarez. I'm just going to knock 5 off of Schlittler and Yamamoto so they don't like funnel up to fill those spots in. But what does that pull in? All right, Suarez went down to 6. It ends up being Bryce Miller as the guy that jumps up the most. Now, if we're just looking at it from a top pitcher's perspective, all of this is kind of the same. Miller at 7K, 24% top 2 pitcher odds. Tyon at 7,700, 22.5. Priester at 8K, 20%. Even Casey Mize at 7,500 is still 16%. All these guys are in like the 15 to 20% ownership range. This is really just the conversation of like, if you're not taking Schlittler or potentially not Yamamoto, who is the next guy you want? And I think the easiest thing to do first is just look at strikeout props. So Casey Mize is at 3.5 with some juice to the under. Bryce Miller is at 3.5 with some juice to the over. Priester is kind of the middle of these guys. Still 3.5 though. Tyon is at 2.5 juice to the over. Schlittler obviously on a different planet, 4.5 to the over. Yamamoto doesn't count. And then Aaron Nola is at 2.5 juice to the over. Aaron Nola has the same strikeout prop today as Jameson Tyon. So keep that in mind as well. So as I'm looking at that with Mize, with Miller, with Priester, with Tyon, we look at Casey Mize. 21% K rate against righties, got crushed. 23.5% K rate against lefties, manageable. Bryce Miller, 17% K rate to lefties, 20 to righties. Kind of gets hit hard by everybody. Tyon doesn't touch anybody against righties, gives up equal power to both. Priester gives up no power, doesn't really get a ton of strikeouts, but sure. To me, the answer is Priester. He's the guy that gets hit the least. He doesn't have a ton of holes in his game. To me, Quinn Priester is the guy that I want, I guess, technically third most. Yamamoto, Schlittler, and then Priester. So what I'm going to do is hop over to the single lineup simulator. And let's take a look at two pitchers. We'll take some optimals, and then we'll make some changes to make it more of a standard issue baseball lineup. So let's just start with Yamamoto and Quinn Priester, and then I'm just going to complete the lineup. We're just going to take the optimal around that. And it ends up being 5-man Yankees stack, 1 off Josh Naylor, 1 off Colt Keith, 1 off Shohei Ohtani. 96.7 projection, 242 ownership. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, 5% sim ROI, but we didn't need an optimal here. We can make this look a little bit better. We do have Judge and Ohtani, which is interesting. I'm just going to go directly to one of the teams associated with us. Since we have Yamamoto, I'm going to go to the Dodgers. And we're going to go ahead and get Ohtani, obviously. I'm going to put him in at first. Betts in. Pajes in. And then I'm just going to go Kike in at third. And we're going to maintain 4 Dodgers. And we'll see if we get anything else here. So 4-3-1, 4 Dodgers, then Ben Rice, Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger, 1 off Victor Robles. Let's see how that looks. Save Sarah, leaving 600 on the table. Negative 6.7. Interesting. Might not be a Dodgers day for us. Let's go ahead and just take that first peek at the top stacks tool. I just wanted to see what Priester looked like out of the gate. But if we take a look at top stacks, Yankees are at the top, about 20% top stack odds, 19% ownership. They are number 1 in stack score. And then we've got a pack of 5 teams that are sort of the same. Seattle, the Dodgers, Detroit, and Toronto. Sorry, a pack of 4 teams. Seattle and the Dodgers have slightly higher top stack odds. Detroit has massive top value odds. Detroit, Toronto, Milwaukee, Chicago, all 10% owned. Dodgers are basically like the Yankees. The Philadelphia Phillies are basically unowned, however. And I think that is going to be an interesting thing to look at given the park. And I think Detroit is interesting because of the salary savings. So if we have Yamamoto and we have Priester, I think either a Tiger stack here would look good or a Phillies stack. But if we went Phillies, we would take Yamamoto out and switch to Schlittler. So I want to look at Tigers in this case because these guys are the number 1 value stack and it's by a mile. If we go to Colt Keith, we get Kerry Carpenter. We get Baez. Torque. And I'm going to go Gleyber Torres. I mean, look at the money that we have left. I actually kind of think that I shouldn't take Torque because we might be able to get Ohtani and Judge. So I'm going to take Torque out of there and take Riley Green. 5,400 for a catcher, a first baseman, and an outfielder. That's so much salary. Wells, Ohtani, Judge. As I expected, 500 left on the table. Let's see how it looks. Damn. The lineups are off to a bad start so far, but we're going to get there. Got a super chat here. Let's funnel in this lineup. It is Yamamoto. And thanks, Devon. Appreciate it. Oh, and we're going Yamamoto and my boy Quinn Priester. All right, let's see it. So that's going to be Wells, Freeman, I don't know who Kim is. Kim, we don't have a Kim projected or a Rosario projected. And we basically don't have any of that lineup projected. Judge, Stanton, Ohtani. We don't have the same second baseman, third baseman, or shortstop projected for you right now. So if I just take the optimals into that lineup, can't even do it. There is no way to fill out the rest of that lineup with those guys. I guess I could unhide the 0 guys, but that's not going to help us. We don't have Haesung Kim projected. Not Rosario. And not Andrew Monasterio. So, unfortunately, I can't actually do anything here. And because of those first 5 guys, I can't even... There are no bats that will fit. Like, if I take Priester out, it's going to give me one of those... Like, okay, with Bryce Miller, you can get Jimenez, McMahon, and Tommy Edman. I'll click it, but there's no way this looks good. So we have been off to a pretty bad start so far. But if we look at this top stacks tool, we have to try one thing. And I know most people aren't going to want to do this, but we're leaving Yamamoto out and we're going to test a Phillies stack. My expectation is that it doesn't look very good. We're going to take Schlittler, obviously. And then I'm going to take Bryce Miller for efficiency's sake. We'll see if that works out well. And let's go to Philly. Okay, Philly is going to be... Since we're not using Yamamoto, I just want projection. Schwarber, clearly. Harper, clearly. Realmuto, clearly. Kepler. Actually, yeah, I'll keep Kepler at 2,600. And then I'll get Trey Turner. 4,200 left. Second baseman, third baseman, outfielder. Okay. So... we had been making lineups with like 240 ownership. This lineup is now down to 85 fantasy points, but also 140 ownership. So I think we gave up way too much FP, but ownership disappears. Okay. It is technically the best lineup we've built so far. And I think it's very easy to figure out how this could be better. If I don't want to make it a 5-man, and I take out Kepler, Chisholm, Suarez, Bellinger, Pages. I'm assuming this is even better. Ever so slightly. Chisholm out, Suarez out, Bellinger out, Pages out, Bryce Miller out. Now I'll test Priester. Chisholm, Keith, Bellinger, Grisham. So 4-3-1. Kind of like that a little bit more. This is going to be the best one yet. Ha! Really? Interesting. All right, let's do some positional research for a second and see the guys that are really going to maximize us here. At catcher, best value catcher is Austin Wells. Dingler is second. Ben Rice is third, but he also has the MPE, which really changes things. For the most part, the catcher is either, to me, the best catcher that you can get to is going to be something in that Wells, Dingler, Yamamoto group. At first, it's almost definitely Josh Naylor. Although there's a case for Bowers and Torque. Like, Chisholm is the best value and is therefore pulling a ton of ownership. I think Gleyber Torres ends up looking like the best option. At third, it's clearly Colt Keith. So this is definitely leading us to some sort of Detroit stack to maximize this. The question is, can you do it without Yamamoto as well? Colt Keith and McKinstry both look great. They're kind of like siphoning from each other. Kind of makes it a little difficult. Shortstop is unequivocally Jimenez for value with some pretty low ownership. If you want to try to buy some of that back, Volpe kind of works. Okay, if I go Dingler, Torque, Torres, Keith. I'm going to skip Javi Baez because he hits 9th. I'm going to skip Parker Meadows. Just take Kerry Carpenter there. 5-man Detroit stack. Now, I'm guessing this gives me Yamamoto. Yamamoto, Schlittler, Betts, Judge, Bellinger. At the very least, we need to look at this one, but I'd like to do it without Yamamoto. Best one we've built so far. We honestly might have too much salary when I go to do this. So we'll go Schlittler, Tyon. We get Volpe, Judge, Ohtani, leave 1,200 on the table. This might be great. No, it's shit. It's utter shit. I think it might be impossible to do this without Yamamoto. He's just too cost effective. Yamamoto, Tyon, Volpe, Judge, Ohtani, 900 on the table. Still -2. This thing is built for success without any changes here. I think the question then becomes, can I change one Detroit bat to really optimize this? Because we have Gleyber Torres in at second right now. But there's a case to be made that Jazz Chisholm is a better option there. Yamamoto, Schlittler, 4-man Detroit, Bellinger, Judge, Chisholm, one-off Mookie Betts. I think that's the best one. I think that's a worthwhile trade-off. Told you. 49.5. We're climbing, folks. We're figuring out the answers step by step. But that is a 4-man Detroit, 3-man Yankees, one-off Mookie Betts. The question becomes, is there a change that can be made? I'm going to save that one right now so we remember it, copy it, and get back into it. So Torque is a good value. But in all honesty, Josh Naylor is probably the move at first. But now we're down to a 3-man Detroit stack. Just out of curiosity, how does that... Oh, we're overpaid now. So we take out Betts, Judge, Bellinger, complete lineup. 3-man Detroit, 3-man Yanks, one-off Mookie, one-off Naylor, Yamamoto, Schlittler. Let's see it. Ooh, 8%. Okay, so not better. So that was better with Torque. Good to know. Betts out, Judge out, Grisham out. Colt Keith is definitely the dude at third. Would I be better off with not Kerry Carpenter? That's an actual question. Well, Riley Green looks worse, so it can't be him. Which then means that no, Kerry Carpenter stays. Is Dingler being swapped out for somebody else more interesting? I think there's a case that Dingler goes for Wells. But if we do that, I do want to add another Detroit guy back. It can't be Baez, although he's a great value. I'd need to leave that open with the ability to get to Mookie. So it's probably another Detroit outfield bat. It would have to be Meadows for value. What does that end up unlocking? Yamamoto, Schlittler, Betts, Judge. This feels good. So the first one was the best one there. Yamamoto, Schlittler, 4-man Detroit, 3-man Yanks, one-off Mookie Betts. 49.5 is the best we've been able to find here so far. Now, the stack side of this one today is weird because we've got the Cubs and the Brewers facing each other, and both teams have a 3.5 run implied total. Disgusting. You've got a Yankees team today facing Louis Varland and Toronto. The Yankees have a 5.2 run implied total. They're a 1.5 ahead of the entire Milwaukee and Cubs setup. That's crazy. You know, I find Seattle to be very interesting. They've got so much power. But I also find Detroit very interesting against Bryce Miller. The way Toronto's been hitting the ball, I don't think it's crazy that they just blast off on Schlittler. Like, it doesn't feel like Yamamoto gets beat by the Phillies, but it's not like they don't have real dudes. It's this Milwaukee-Chicago game that's really just a morass of trash. Like, Tyon's meh, Priester's meh. The offensive side of this game is the worst. Like, this profiles as the worst game you can get to. None of this is good. None of this is good. What do the Sims give you without anyone in the lineup? Negative 100% Sim ROI. You lose. optimal lineup as of right now. Yamamoto, Schlittler, Wells, Ohtani, Chisholm, Keith, Volpe, Judge, Bellinger, Robles. And there it is. 22.5 sim ROI. There's probably an easy way to make that lineup better too. Like, is just taking Schlittler out of it easy enough? No, he's just too good of a value. Anyway. I want to try and avoid Milwaukee and Chicago as much as possible. But the one thing we haven't done yet, and we're going to do that right now, we haven't looked at what is coming out of the Sims. Now, I think it's pretty clear what we can guess here. My assumption is that the Detroit Tigers are going to be very exposed in these Sims. Because of how good they are as a value, I think we're going to be paying up for Yamamoto and Schlittler a lot, and that is going to lead us to this Tigers team that is free. I'm guessing by a mile, the Tigers are our most exposed 5-man stacks. All right, here we go. Let's take those old boosts off. Take that top 150. And let's look at the stacks. Number 1, 5-man stack exposure. I told you. Detroit Tigers. 2xing the 3-mans. 3xing 4-mans. 5xing 5-mans. They're in everything. And then the Yankees end up coming in second. We want to just look at overall exposure. Detroit is in 44% of the top 150. Yankees are in 28. Everybody else at 18 or below. Milwaukee sneaking in a little bit. But that is what we expected. That is what we expected. All right, let's see what Chris Albers has here. He's got a lineup ready for us. We'll take a look at it in a sec. But I wanted you guys to see this and see those exposures. If we just look at the hitters, you can get an idea of what we have. Highest exposed guy is Judge at 40%. Makes sense. Kerry Carpenter, Jazz Chisholm, Riley Green. I love all those exposures at the top. These are all the right names to me. So I really like how this is coming out. Let's check out Chris's lineup. I'm confused why the Cubbies and Brewers don't look decent. Both these pitchers have been shelled by these teams. Well, these pitchers being shelled by these teams definitely doesn't matter. And the fact that they have 3.5 run implied totals is carrying a lot of weight. It is a very pitchers park and weather friendly game for that one. But them being shelled by these teams, I can promise, means 0. All right, let's hit this lineup from Chris Albers. Yamamoto, Schlittler, Dingler, Torkelson, Torres, Keith, Volpe, Ohtani, Judge, Cody Bellinger. 4-man Detroit, 3-man Yanks, 1 off Ohtani, Yamamoto, Schlittler. Let's see it. Thank you for this super chat, Chris. Well, Chris, I would highly recommend that you bet the over in the game. %19.8% sim ROI here for you, Chris. 0.4% win, 41.5% cash. Einsteinium, 0% chance I would ever do that. Based on what we know now, I wouldn't play Ranger Suarez in a single lineup. Unless something changes. Oh, I don't have that on large contest, so let me run that again and see if it looks any better. My bad. Worse. Just snuck over the line at 0.8% sim ROI. I don't know if I have much else to say here now, guys. Like, the things that stand out for obvious reasons. It is no surprise that the Yankees look as good as they do. It's no surprise that the Dodgers are as owned as they are. Given the fact that Yamamoto is only 9K, that's like his price is broken. If the most expensive pitcher of the day is also the clear top value play, that dude's like $1,000 underpriced. So that's happening, and that is causing like trickle down effects to everything. Steven, I agree with you there. In lineups where you don't have Yamamoto, I don't know how you don't have a few Phillies bats. How does Green look worse? Had a much better season than Carpenter. $121 WRC plus for Riley Green, $115 for Kerry Carpenter. Might as well be the same things. But Carpenter, yeah, they're like the same guy. Varland pitched last night. Obviously, he's just opening. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a full bullpen joint for Toronto here. Pull that up actually before we get out of here. So yeah, we got 20 pitches out of Varland. I mean, everybody's available. Everybody's available. But like, I mean, it's really not the best spot for Varland. Four appearances in 5 days, not ideal, but everybody else is fine. So they could just throw somebody out here one at a time if they want to, which is not fun. But yeah, you're only getting an inning out of Varland. I'm not sure I have anything else here, folks. We've taken a look at the sims on the pitching side and the hitting side, built a couple lineups individually. It's a fun slate. Reminder, we lock at 3:08 Eastern time. So all four of these games are starting at 3:10 Eastern or later. It's not bad. It's not bad. Back tomorrow. Lofty and I'll have the NFL perfect lineup for Thursday night football. Plenty of Thursday night shows tomorrow as well, including live before lock. All right, Chris, I'll give you this last one and then I'm out of here. It's good timing. You got about 30 seconds. Yamamoto, Schlittler, Rice, Torque, Torres, Colt Keith, Volpe, Judge, Stanton, Bellinger. Brendan, it doesn't matter. Brendan said, who's coming in for Toronto after Varland? He's going like 1 to 2 innings max, right? Yeah, he's not throwing more than an inning. Oh, 40% sim ROI there, Chris. Good work. Nobody's coming in for anything that's relevant. Just bullpen arm after bullpen arm. Closing on a 40% sim ROI. Good work to Chris for that one. I appreciate you having it there. Guys, this was fun. I didn't think we were going to get another baseball show, but we're in luck. We're here, and we've got one in the books. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. I don't think this is going to happen again. So I'm bidding the MLB season adieu. I don't know if the schedule can make it happen if like everybody wins out and we get a bunch of game 5s or whatever, but good luck, everybody. Thank you for being here. Win some money. Keep your eyes peeled to my Twitter. NBA starts soon.